All right, guys, welcome to the order of operations video. So we're going to be using PEMDAS, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, whichever one you guys learned, and I'll go over what that means in a little bit. But that's going to be the order of operations on how to solve any problem. So we have it written for you over here in this box. So PEMDAS stands for parentheses, exponents, multiply and divide, and add and subtract. So you always work top to bottom. Always, always, always top to bottom. And then on these ones that have two, like multiply and divide and add and subtract, you work left to right. So what does that look like? If we start at the very top here, okay, we start at the top of our PEMDAS. The very first one says parentheses. Now I can see in this problem over here, I have two parentheses. So that's what I want to go ahead and do first. So inside of my parentheses is 6 times 2, which is going to be 12. And then I go ahead and I drop everything else down the exact way that it's written. So I have 5 squared. I have a minus sign. I have a divide sign, 4 plus 10. My second step over here in PEMDAS is exponents. So if I look, I do have an exponent right here. So I want to go ahead and try that first, or do that next, right? So 5 squared, remember 5 squared is just the same as saying 5 times itself. We know that 5 times 5 is 25. So this is going to give us a 25. And we bring everything else down the exact way it's written. Minus 12 divided by 4 plus 10. My next step over here in PEMDAS is multiply and divide. Now, when I say left to right, I don't mean the way it's written, so you don't always multiply first. When I say left to right, I mean in your equation. So if I'm working in my equation left to right here, what comes first? In this case, I only have division, right? So I'm going to do my division next. 12 divided by 4 is going to go ahead and give us a 3. And I drop everything else down the way it's written. I don't have any more multiplication or division, so that leaves me on my very last step, which is addition and subtraction. What's happening? So addition and subtraction, right? There we go. So this is also a left to right because I have two things I can do here. Now, in my PEMDAS over here, it says addition first. That doesn't mean I always do addition first. I do what's first in my equation. So left to right in my equation, what comes first? Subtraction. So that's what I'm going to do first. So I have 25 minus 3. I have 25 good guys, and I have 3 bad guys. Who's going to win and by how much? Right? We're going to have the good guys win because 25 is bigger than 3. And they're going to win by 22, right? So we should have a positive 22 plus 10 because we bring that down how it's written. And then we're still on that last step of addition and subtraction, and we have addition. So we have 22 good guys and 10 more good guys, which means we have 32. And that would be our answer. So that's going to be how our order of operations works. We're just going to work through PEMDAS exactly like that every single time. And we're going to see what answers we get. So in part B down here, it has a couple equations. I want you guys to try and do those on your own. So you're going to pause right here and try those, and then I'll go over them with you in just a minute. All right, so on our first one, if we look at our PEMDAS, right? What is first in PEMDAS? Parentheses. Do I see any parentheses in number 1? I don't. So we can just skip that and go to E in PEMDAS, which is exponents. Still don't see any of those. Perfect, cool. Now we're going to move on to multiplication and division. I do see both of those, so remember I want to work left to right. On the left, I have my multiplication, so let's do that first. So I have a negative 7 times 4. Remember, a negative times a positive will always give you a negative number, so we know our answer is negative. And then we have 7 times 4, which is going to be 28. and bring everything else down. Plus 8 divided by 2. Now we're still on that multiplication and divide step because we do still see some division in our problem, right? So we're going to skip over our addition and we're going to do the division first. 8 divided by 2 is going to give us a 4. And we're going to bring everything else down exactly how it's written. Now I don't see any more multiplication and division here, so I can go ahead and move on to my very last step, which is add and subtract, which I do see here. And when I add negative 28 plus 4, that is 28 bad guys versus 4 good guys. So who's going to win that? My bad guys, because the score is bigger. And by how much did they win? By 24. Now, if bad guys and good guys doesn't work for you guys, don't forget you can always make your own story, right? So if you really like sports, maybe you really like the Angels, say the Angels are the good guys, the Dodgers are the bad guys. So in this case, we had the Dodgers scored 28, the Angels scored 4. Who won by how much? So go ahead and make your own story for these, and that'll definitely help you guys with your addition and subtractions with integers. All right, in number 2, if I start with my PEMDAS on my P, do I see parentheses? I do, right? So I'm going to start with those parentheses. Inside of them is a 3 plus 2. So that gives me 5. And we have a little exponent on those parentheses, so I'm going to keep that there, right? Because everything needs to drop down the way that it's written. So we're going to keep that exponent, multiply by 6, bring it down, and minus 1. We don't have any more parentheses, so we move on to the exponents of our PEMDAS, which we do see right here, right? So we already did 5 squared up here. We saw that it was 25. So we're going to do 25. Bring down everything else exactly as it's written, times 6 minus 1. We don't see any more exponents, so we're going to move on to multiplication and division. I don't see any division, but I do see some multiplication. So if we have 25 times 6, what's that going to give us? 150. Bring down everything else as it is. I don't see any more multiplication and division, which brings us to our last step, addition and subtraction. I don't see addition, but I do see subtraction. We have 150 minus 1, which gives us 149. So that would be how you would do those 2 problems. You can go over them again and again. If they don't make sense, you can ask me in class if you'd like, because maybe I went over it a little too fast for you here, and I can go over it more with you in class. Or you can watch some more of the resources as well. Don't forget, we have a lot of different resources for you guys this year. All right, down here on part C, it looks a little bit confusing, but basically you have the numbers 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and you want to use parentheses, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, or an exponent to make the number on the right. So like number 1, we showed you guys how to do that. So if we would do our parentheses first, we would get 9. Then we're going to use our division, right? Because that comes first on the left, which would give us 3. Then we do our multiplication, which 2 times 3 would give us 6. Uh-oh. I think I did something in my PEMDAS wrong, right? Because that would give us a negative 3. So did I do my PEMDAS wrong here? Or is there a mistake in the problem? Let's look at it. So let's rewrite the problem down bottom so I can see it a little bit more. So I have 5 plus 4 divided by 3 minus 2 times 1. What comes first in PEMDAS? Parentheses, right? So we have 9. Bring everything else down. Then I have multiplication and division. On the left, I have division, so I have a 3. Bring everything else down. Then if I do my multiplication, I have 2 times 1, which is 2. And bring everything else down. And 3 minus 2 is 1. So you guys have always got to check yourself, right? Because I just did my math wrong up top, and it looked like it wasn't going to work. So when you're doing your checks for your answers, make sure you guys take your time. Make sure you write it out. You have some extra space around your notebook paper. You can also always grab a piece of scratch paper and we can tape that in on top for you if you wanted some extra scratch paper. But that's a perfect example of how mistakes can happen. And even I make mistakes. So we want to make sure that we're checking those answers. So if we want to go over number 2 together, right? We got to think a little bit, figure out how we can get to 2. So let's see here. I know that we can do 2 times 1 and have 2, but I have 5, 4, and 3 over here as well. So if I want to do 2 times 1 equals 2, I'm going to need these 3 to also equal 1. So how can I go about doing that, right? How can I make 5, 4, and 3 equal 1? Well, let's see. If I do 5 minus 4, I get a 1. 3 minus 1 is a 2, but that's not going to help us, right? Because that's 2, not 1. I need it to be 1. If I do 4 minus 3, that gives me 1, but then I still have a 5. If we don't do 2 times 1, right, let's go back to making these a 2. How did we make these 3 numbers into a 2? We did 5 minus 4, which gave us 1. And then if we do, let's see, well, if we do 1 minus 3, that gives us a negative. What if we did, let's see, if we do a 4 minus a 3, gives us 1. If we do 5 minus the 1, that gives us 4. And then we do 4 minus, yep, that should work. So if we do 4 minus 3, let's come down here so we can see it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're trying to get to 2. We do 4 minus 3, we have 1. And then we have a 5 over here, we have a 2 and a 1. Then we want to do 5 minus 1, which gives us 4. 2, we have a 1. We do 4 minus 2, that gives us 2. And then we want to do times 1, which gives us 2. Now we have the right answer, but if we do our PEMDAS with that, right? If we have 5 minus 4 minus 3 minus 2 times 1, this is going to come first. If we need that to come last, we use our parentheses. So now let's check that. If we do what's in our parentheses first, we have 5 minus 4, which is 1. Bring everything else down. Oh, that doesn't work, right? Because now we have a negative. So it looks like we might need a second set of parentheses to make sure that we do the right subtraction first. So 5 minus 4 minus 3 minus 2 minus 4 times 1. We have these parentheses. What operation did we do first? So we also need parentheses there. So if we do 4 minus 3, we get 1. Then we have 5 minus 2 times 1. 5 minus 1 is 4 minus 2 times 1. 4 minus 2, 2 times 1. 2 times 1 is 2. So this should give us our proper answer. So we want to fill that in up here. 5 minus parentheses 4 minus 3 parentheses minus 2 times 1. Now you guys are going to try and work through the rest of them on your own. I will be walking around to help you guys out if you have any questions. We're not going to go over them in this video, but I will be around to help as well. So just try and finish those up on your own. And I will see you guys in the next video.